Procrastination and a lack of motivation are both very common issues in today's society. By the end of this video, I will tell you many different techniques on how you can overcome these issues for good. So I'm going to start off with procrastination. And procrastination is the unnecessary and voluntarily delaying of a task, even when you know that there are negative consequences from doing this. So for example, let's say you have a project due in a week. Procrastination would be waiting until the last day and then doing it, knowing that delaying it until then would make it much worse, and then you'll get a lower grade. So there are two main reasons that cause procrastination, and that is lack of motivation and fear. So I'll be talking about lack of motivation in the second part of this video, but I'll be talking about fear now. And the reason that fear causes procrastination is because fear is a negative emotion, and when you get this negative emotion, you want to get rid of it. So your brain tries to make you busy with other activities, such as YouTube, TikTok, video games, stuff like that. And then you end up delaying this so that you can avoid the pain of the negative fear. So to overcome this fear, and there are several types of fear. This can be fear of doubting yourself, the fear of failure, that you're not good enough, the fear of the unknown, so not knowing even how to start, or the fear of not being perfect. So to overcome these, we have to overcome negative thoughts. And there are three main steps that you need to do in order to do this. So the first one is identifying the fear. And this is probably the most important out of the three, because literally just identifying the fear can get rid of more than half of the issue. And to do this, you have to spend some time, usually by yourself, and just spend some time thinking on what feelings you get when you think about doing the work, why you're afraid, and even acknowledging that you're afraid in the first place. And it might help to just use a pen and paper to note down all your thoughts. So the second step is to question this fear. Is this actually based on real life events? Is it accurate or an exaggeration? And then consider alternative perspectives. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're afraid of failure. You're worried that the work that you produce is not going to be good enough, and so you're delaying it. You could change that thought of thinking that you're failing into a more positive thought. So you could say something like, I will face challenges, but I will learn to overcome them. And this work, which might not be perfect, will teach me how to get better. So future pieces of work are a lot better. You can also consider asking family members, friends about this type of stuff, and they can expose you to new perspectives that you might have never thought about before. So now that I've talked about getting rid of your fears, I'm going to talk about motivation. And motivation is the driving force behind your actions and behaviors. It's the spark within you that pushes you to do the hard work, even when you might not feel like it. And I just want to clarify that this is not the type of motivation that you suddenly get when you watch a motivational video or at 3 a.m. when you want to do some push-ups. It's the type of motivation that sticks with you for a long term. It pushes you to do the work. And yeah. So there's a very simple formula for motivation, and that is how much motivation equals how much a certain goal matters to you, plus the enjoyment you get from doing it, minus the amount of pain involved. So if you can make the reason behind doing something and the enjoyment you get from it as high as possible, and the pain as low as possible, then your motivation will be extremely high. So I'm first going to be talking about maximizing how much a certain goal matters to you. And this is probably, out of the three, the most important, because without a solid reason for doing something, none of the other techniques are going to work, because you'd have no reason to do them. It's like doing something without a purpose is just pointless, so you wouldn't even attempt it. So having a solid reason to start off with is extremely vital. And the way we can do this is maximizing our goal intentions. And goal intentions is just a fancy way of saying the intention or reason for pursuing a goal. So before I talk about maximizing your goal intentions, I'm going to be talking about intrinsic and extrinsic goals. So an intrinsic goal is something that you value within yourself. That you value. This could be, you might find something enjoyable, or personal satisfaction and purpose are also very good examples of intrinsic motivation. And extrinsic motivation is something that gives you a reward or a punishment for not doing it. This is stuff that has been put onto you by society, your friends, your family, school, stuff like that. Stuff that you don't really care about, but other people do. And so this could be getting good grades, or getting a high status job. I mean, they might be intrinsic, but for most people they can also be extrinsic. And usually intrinsic goals are harder to find, but they also provide you with much more long-term motivation compared to extrinsic. So to boost your goal intentions and find good intrinsic goals, you have to ask yourself why. Why do you want to pursue a certain action in the first place? For example, you might want to revise, but why do you even want to do it in the first place? And I'll give you an example. Let's say we have a guy who wants to run consistently every week so that he can boost his health. Now, we've got a basic reason to boost his health, but it's very generic and not personal to him, so he most likely won't get much motivation. So we can ask why. Why does he want to get healthier? This could be to live a longer and healthier, happier life. Why does he want that? So that when he's older, he doesn't have diseases, he doesn't have to stay in bed, and he can move around without any joint pain or issues like that. But why would he want that? And maybe for him, it could be that when he retires, he wants to explore the world and look at all the different wonders that it holds. And now, you could keep on going and asking why, but at this point we have a solid reason why he's doing something, which is personal to him. So, for him, this would be an intrinsic goal. Now that we do have the goal, we can use two techniques to make this goal even stronger. And the first one being visualization. And visualization is extremely effective because motivation will inevitably get lower at sometimes. You might not feel like doing something. But what visualization does is it reminds you of your goal. And so you get more motivated and you can do the work easily. So visualization is where you picture a goal in your head, your ideal life. For him, it might be exploring the world, finding out new things, and being healthy. And so every time you're struggling to find some motivation and you don't want to do something, just picture the ideal life that you're working towards. And over time, you will get closer. And this can boost motivation a lot. And the second technique is mental contrasting. And this is where you compare your current life to your ideal life. So for this person, it could be currently he might be quite fat, unhealthy, going up the stairs even makes him tired. So you can imagine that exploring an entire country would be impossible for him. And in his ideal life, this would not be true. He would be extremely healthy, he can sprint upstairs and without getting tired. So exploring an entire country would be an ease for him. He'd be able to see everything that he wanted to. And so by comparing these two vastly different things, we're creating a gap in our brain from our current self and our future self. And so our brain boosts our motivation to try and get closer to the ideal version of ourselves that we want. So I'm next going to be talking about maximizing the enjoyment of an activity. And obviously, if you enjoy something, you're going to want to do it more. For example, you're probably more motivated to play video games than you are to do some homework. And so if you can make homework more enjoyable, then our motivation for doing it will also rise. And there are a few ways to increase this. The first one being measuring your progress. And measuring progress has a few benefits because by measuring your progress, you're tracking how you're doing over the months. And if you're improving, this can boost your intrinsic motivation because you're getting closer and closer to your goals. So you want to continue doing that. But let's say you aren't getting closer, or maybe you're getting further away because you might be getting slower in your runs, your test scores might be getting worse, or your sleep quality might be declining. Seeing it decline over time tells you that something you're doing isn't working, and so you'll have to find out something else. The second way is to celebrate small wins, and this is basically where, let's say you're doing something slightly difficult, for example, going for a run, doing a bit of homework or revision at home. These things are quite minor, but they still take effort and hard work. So congratulating yourself and patting yourself on the back for these things can boost self-esteem and confidence within yourself, so you're more likely to do them in the future. And it can also associate these actions with success. And since you want success, then your brain will likely do these things again and again, and so you'll get closer and closer to your goals. You can also look at finding different ways to get the same results, because you might find some ways more fun than another. For example, let's say you want to boost your heart health and get healthier. You might try jogging but not enjoy it very much, but then you could switch over to swimming, climbing, martial arts, cycling, something like that. And all of these still boost your heart health, but you might find them more enjoyable, and so you're obviously going to be more consistent and motivated to do these. But if you can't find anything that you find enjoyable, just stick to that activity that you find least boring, and over time, as you get better at something, you'll obviously find it more fun. So next, I'm going to be talking about minimizing the pain of an activity. And by minimizing the pain, I'm mostly talking about starting an activity, because the most effort is required to start an activity, and once you do begin it, it's quite easy to continue going. So to do that, we have to change our environment. I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to go to the gym. Before you have to go gym, you have to find your gym clothes, put them on, fill your water bottle and leave the house. But let's say your room is extremely messy. You have no clue where your gym clothes are, and so you spend 10-15 minutes looking for them. And so the amount of effort required to even step foot outside of your house is so high, and so you're less likely to do it. Compare this to someone who's got an organized room. The gym clothes are in the same place every day. They will open the drawer, grab the gym clothes, put them on, and leave the house within 2-3 minutes. So the effort is so much lower compared to the other person, and so this person who has a tidy room will stay much more organized. And this is also a good technique that you can use for getting rid of bad habits. So let's say you want to lose some weight. If you look at your kitchen, there might be junk food on the counter, and so every time you walk into your kitchen, you're going to look at the junk food, and eventually, after looking at it over and over again, you're going to get tempted to just eat one cookie, one thing, and over time these one small things build up to extra fat. But if you have no junk food visible, it's hidden away within drawers, or maybe not even in the house at all, then there's no temptation. You won't be reminded of the junk food, so you're a lot less likely to want it. And so, while you still may get tempted from time to time, your temptations will gradually get lower and lower, and so you'll lose fat and get more healthy. Another technique to reduce the pain and effort is implementation intention. And this is basically where you set very specific methods to achieve your actions. You might have heard about SMART targets: specific, measurable, actionable, reliable, and time-based, I think. Something like that. But basically, you specify how you're going to do something. Like, every Thursday at 6 p.m, I will go to the gym for 1 hour. This sets this creates a type of commitment in your mind, which makes you a lot more likely to do that thing. And studies in the past have shown that this technique, implementation intention, can boost the likelihood of staying consistent at something by over 2.5 times, which is a lot. So this technique is very effective for doing this stuff. And you can also break down your plan into smaller sub-plans to reduce the effort and pain involved. For example, let's say you've written every Thursday at 6 p.m. I will go gym. Imagine seeing going gym in your timetable. Now that's quite a vague task. What workout are you going to do? What exercises? Where are you going to do it? All of these things are things that you'll have to think about before going to the gym. And so the effort is a lot higher because you have to think about this stuff beforehand. So since effort is higher, you're less likely to do something. So in order to fix this and make the effort lower, let's say when you're writing your SMART targets down, implementation intentions, think about what going to gym actually means. So this could mean, and break it down. So this could be, put on your gym clothes, fill up your water bottle, leave the house, drive to the gym, do a chest workout. This could be bench press, tricep extensions, stuff like that. And then go back home. So that's a much more detailed plan. And so you're a lot less overwhelmed when you look at that in your planner. So the chance of you staying consistent with that is a lot higher. Also, if you're starting a new habit, it can be quite difficult to stay consistent. So I'd recommend that you start off very small. For example, let's say you want to get stronger. Do 5 push-ups a day. You want to get better test scores. Start off with 5-10 minutes of revision only. To get healthier, might be just eating 1 extra fruit, cutting out 1 bit of junk food. And these might seem very small at first, but over time you'll get consistent with these and they'll turn into habits, which will mean that it's a lot easier to stay consistent with them. And once this does happen, you can bump up the level of effort you'd put in. So instead of 5 push-ups, maybe 20. Instead of 10 minutes of revision, maybe 30 minutes or an hour. Instead of 1 fruit, could be 2 or 3. And so, by starting small, getting consistent, and then boosting the work, we're a lot more likely to reach our goals. But your brain will try and trick you. Your brain will say that doing these 5 push-ups, eating 1 extra fruit is not doing anything. And so, you'll want to do everything. 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 50-kilometer run every day. You want to perfect your diet, no sugar. And so, this is quite overwhelming. So you might stay consistent with this, maybe 1 or 2 days, but then you'll be burnt out and you'll be very exhausted from all of this, and then you'll just stop. So you're back where you originally were. You're not any closer to your goals. And so what I'd recommend is you ignore these thoughts from your brain. Continue with the small habits, and gradually over time you can build up. Another way that you can increase your motivation is making sure you're healthy. So make sure you're looking after the big 3 factors: your diet, sleep, and exercise. For your diet, make sure that you're eating lots of fruit and you are cutting out sugar and junk as much as possible. For sleep, make sure you stick to a consistent sleep schedule and try to sleep 8 hours per day. For exercise, try and do 2 or 3 days of running and gym or martial arts, just anything physical, 2 to 3 times a week. And use the same techniques I've told you in this video. Start small, use implementation intention, visualize your goals. All of these things can help you to get healthier, which will boost your motivation even more. And finally, habits do get easier over time. And this is really good because it means that the amount of effort you have to spend will gradually get lower and lower, and so it gets a lot easier to stay consistent at habit the longer you spend doing it. And this also means as you get more consistent, you can bump up the difficulty. And so you'll accelerate the rate at which you'll get closer to your goals. So to conclude, in this video I've told you that procrastination can be overcome by controlling fear and boosting motivation. To control fear, there's 3 main steps. That is, identify the fear, such as by writing about your thoughts and questioning the types of feelings you get when you think about doing the work that you're procrastinating on. Question these thoughts. For example, is it accurate to real life? Is this based on past experiences? Am I exaggerating? And thirdly, consider alternative perspectives. Reframe the negative thoughts to be more positive and ask family members for their opinions, or friends, or anyone. You can also boost I've also told you that to reduce procrastination, you have to boost motivation. And this is done largely by controlling 3 factors. The first one being willingness to do something, which can be done by finding an intrinsic goal that you personally are passionate about, visualizing it, and using mental contrasting to compare your current life to your future life. Second factor is boosting the enjoyment out of something, and this can be done by measuring your goals, celebrating small successes and wins, and finding different ways that you might find more enjoyable to achieve the same results. Thirdly, to minimize the pain and effort required to do something, you have to change your environment so that it's more aligned with your goals. Set implementation intentions or specific ways that you're going to achieve those goals. Break down your plan so it's less overwhelming, and start off small so that you can stay consistent and get a lot closer to your goals. Finally, health can also affect your motivation, so make sure that your health is in check, because if you have bad health, then your brain will be unhealthy, and if your brain isn't healthy, then your motivation is low. I'd like to end off this video with a quote from Sensei Wu. If you want something bad enough, you will find a way to get it. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.